We all have a comfort zone. Think about it for a second. That area, that box that you're willing to be in, and as long as things fit into that box, you're comfortable. And when they go outside that box, you're uncomfortable. We're going to talk about what your comfort zone is. And we're also going to talk about a little comfort zone that Tom had that he stepped out of in the last couple of days and how it's going to make this program so much better going forward. All that and more on episode 913 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote provides an opportunity for business owners and leaders to discover what is real for them and to be impacted by what is real for others. That is the Renegade way. Let's get real. We all face challenges and get stuck occasionally and are looking for an antidote. Each weekday, this show dives into a topic that may have you stuck, frustrated, and uncertain. Our goal is to share our value in an effort to help you find that one thing, the antidote to your challenges, so that you can get results and make more money. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Bob. How are you today?
I'm good. The Ravens won yesterday. I know you're waiting for the Bills to play tonight. Big game.
Yes, indeed.
9/11, which I didn't realize until you said that to me.
Oh, you didn't?
Yes. So it's been, what, 22 years?
22 years. Someone who I know who lives in Connecticut and has lived in Connecticut a long time, posted on their Facebook page their alarm settings on their phone and how many are set for tomorrow at different times. And I think that's again, it's something that is great to have awareness of all these 22 years later, of when all of the things happened. I think the alarm, they were for when the first tower was hit. Second tower was hit.
And 9 something. Yeah.
So I thought that was I was happy that I saw it.
Right.
I just thought it was an important thing for us to remember.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of years ago, one of my nephews was asking me about it because they were studying it in school. And it was how I remember asking my parents about when Kennedy was assassinated. Yeah. It was just this page in a book, and the teacher said, ask someone you know that lived through it what it was like. And it occurred to me how we have these things that just, it's vivid for you, probably it's vivid for me and for most people of that age. But if you're younger, it's just a page in the history book.
Right.
Just another thing, and that we march on.
Yes. I think it's interesting. As you were saying that, I was thinking back on all of those moments that were like that and trying to remember, like, okay, what are those moments that I remember that I'm sure there are others who don't, because they're younger, they don't have that knowledge, experience, and perspective around.
Or older, and things resonate with them that don't resonate with you and me,
Correct.
It's all relative to your age, right? I mean, you and I are that generation where John Lennon dying and Michael Jackson dying and the Berlin Wall falling. And I remember Reagan being shot, some of those things. But if you were older, it would be Kennedy, Martin Luther King's assassination, Bobby Kennedy's assassination, the guy in Maryland that got shot. In Laurel, they had another assassination attempt. Oh, I'm going to have to think about it. A senator or something. Shoot.
I don't know.
Yeah, and we have these things, and younger people have these things as well. I don't know what they would be, honestly.
It's interesting.
The Challenger explosion is another one.
What's that?
Challenger explosion.
Oh, yes. I was thinking about, that was one of the ones I was thinking about. There was that, and then there was, I don't know if you had it as much. Maybe down here you did, or I'm not sure. When the power grid went?
No.
We had that in New York where it was, and I thought it was larger, where literally we had no power.
I remember it vaguely. I also remember the gas lines in 1973, where you could only go odd, and even if your license plate was an odd number, you got to go, or even
Yeah, and the lines to get
yeah,
gas was crazy.
that it would be. Yeah, my father would grab me. We'd go for like 3 hours to sit in line.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting how these stops in history take us outside our comfort zone, right?
yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that today, as we talk about what your comfort zone is, I think we all had a comfort zone that buildings would not get knocked down in New York, and that planes don't crash into buildings. Certainly, one crashing into a building was like, wow, that's weird. But then two, and then to find out that it was intentional.
Right.
Kelly's with us this morning, and she says it took out half the province of Ontario as well in the summer about 18 years ago. I think that's the power grid. I don't remember that. So
yeah, it might not have been down here. I think it was the Northeast.
Okay. Kind of thank you, Kelly, for the update. 18 years ago, which means it was, I can't do the math.
What year is today? 2023, so it would have been 2005.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Hurricane Katrina, another big thing.
Yeah, a lot of those things that happen that change, as you said, that sort of take you out of what is normal for you. You know, you go through those things, and then something happens to sort of change what you believe to be as normal, and I think normal, as it would be described, whatever that means, is sort of being in your comfort zone.
Well, and those are all external things, right?
Correct.
You know, there's a comfort zone that I had that planes don't crash into buildings in New York, certainly not the Twin Towers. That got changed. And now, you know, the other side of it is the comfort zone that we have, and you as a person choose to go outside your comfort zone, right? So if you're someone who doesn't like to, I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago who had a business and they'd never had credit in their business. And they were taking out credit for their business, going to a bank and getting a loan. And that was discomforting to them because it was the first time that they had done that thing. And I see Kurt's with us. Hey, Kurt, how are you? What's with the crickets? They are at Tom's End. I'm on the 3rd floor in the penthouse, so we don't have crickets. We have although we do have frogs.
You have a frog in your house?
I've had frogs on my balcony, which drives Sam Hunt, my cat, crazy. Absolutely berserk. Rightfully so. Yeah. So we have that external comfort zone that was tested with things like 9/11, and then that internal one that, you know, I'm going to make sure that my desk is clean because I'm pretty comfortable with the messy desk. But I was reading last week that people who have clean desks tend to be more productive. So it's like, can I clean my desk? And that takes me out of my comfort zone in a sense. And then bigger, going outside our comfort zone. I think for me, a big thing that was outside my comfort zone was starting a business. You know, I contemplated it. I was going to a therapist. I talked to her for about a year about it before I did it. And at one point it was just, you know, what's the risk versus the reward? And the equation moved from higher risk, lower reward to higher reward, lower risk. And there was a tipping point. I remember the day where it was like, okay, time to go. And as a leader, going outside the comfort zone, I helped a leader a couple of years ago start doing meetings where they weren't the leader of the meeting. They rotated the leadership, and that was really so they were out of control of the meeting agenda and what was going to happen, and that was very uncomfortable for them. Sure. I'd love to hear from people right now, if you're in the chat, something where you have gotten outside your comfort zone. I'd love to see examples of that. They can be small, they can be discrete, they can be personal things. Like I'm dating someone who's very comfortable with the dishes being dirty in the sink.
You hate that.
I hate that. Absolutely. And it's all I can do not to deal with them, but I've gotten comfortable with that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that one of the things about the comfort zone is it's really what's real for you and what you allow to be real, right? Is that
Hmm.
that's and it's all based on our knowledge, experience, and perspective. It'd be interesting to try to go back and figure out what was the thing about dirty dishes that drove you nuts. So much so that you were like, I can't have that. I have to change that. Um, it's like I had with coffee. I don't know if I've ever shared this story. Like I've
No, but
never
I
had a
do
cup
want to
of
jump in with Kurt's comment. Kurt says, Tom has the mind of a warrior. That would drive me insane.
well, maybe you just don't know me well
I've
enough
never
yet,
liked
Kurt.
Kurt more.
I might be more insane than you think because I agree. It's distracting. And I've even done what I could to try to get them to stop.
Just the crickets being
The crickets.
distracting.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that there's things that have happened to us that we didn't, that we either had a different experience with or something that was bothering us. And so we've tried to control that differently and not have it be a part of what's real for us because that reality was not something that we wanted to have. And so I think that that's part of, that becomes what our comfort zone is, right? What are those, how do we control things so that we stay within those things that we find value in? And then
or we feel safe in them, right?
Sure.
I mean, one of the things about the dishes to me is if I put them in the dishwasher right away or clean them right away, they're not looking at me.
Do dishes have eyes?
Well, it's not something I have to do. It's done.
And it's something you don't have to look at.
Correct.
And I think that's it's that those things that I think it goes back to those things that have bothered us in the past. And when we have the opportunity to try to control that, that becomes our comfort zone.
Or bothered the people around us when we were growing up.
Sure, I guess.
I think that's where my dishes stem from.
Somebody else didn't like having dirty dishes and you were the one who had to put them away?
Somebody didn't like, somebody was very much get your work done before you play. And that falls into that, I think.
That explains a lot.
Oh, so much. so much. But I think this whole idea of comfort zone, I am constantly looking at my comfort zone these days and seeing how much I fight to stay within it.
Well, sure.
And that analogy I gave at the beginning of the box, I can see the walls of the box. I could literally define for you where the walls are with a whole bunch of things. What's interesting, though, when you look at it that way, every day you're outside your comfort zone at some point because I can't control everything that's going to happen to me today.
Correct.
I'm outside my comfort zone right now with this discussion. And I'm having the trepidation of, I gave an example. Maybe I shouldn't have given that example. I made this statement. And so I'm fighting in my mind to get back to the comfort zone. And I could expand the comfort zone and say, well, I said these things, I'm trying to do this, and this is what the goal is. Or I could say, well, let me go back. But I feel in my head right now that tug of war. And I think as I look at comfort zones more, I realize that it's a constant tug of war.
Sure.
Because life's unpredictable.
Well, and what becomes comfortable for you changes, right? So the conversations that you have right now, you aren't, if I had a reaction to it, you might more quickly know whether or not that is something you want to do again in the future. If someone else
has a reaction to it.
Correct. That'll impact whether that's part of your comfort zone or not. And I think that's why what I like about the topic is, and you sort of said it, is trying to define what our comfort zones are. So that because I think and I think we'll have this discussion later in the week, the idea that our comfort zone sometimes helps us and sometimes it doesn't. And I think being aware of what our comfort zone is allows us to think differently about and learn from what's real. We get a chance to sort of understand I know this is my comfort zone. I know that in some ways this provides me a lot of value, yet it also probably causes me some limitations. And how do I start to understand whether those limitations or the value it provides, if changing that would add more value to where I'm at?
So I just came up with the best example of all, Tom. You'll love this.
Is this a judgment? Are you making a judgment that you come up with the best example of
I think I've got a really good one. So remember when you were learning to drive?
Sort of, yes.
Were you learning on an automatic car or a manual car? Manual stick shift and...
Well, I was learning on I would say that I learned to drive on a manual lawnmower.
Okay.
An automatic lawnmower, a manual tractor.
Okay.
And an automatic car.
Okay. So with the tractor, you had to do the clutch.
Yep.
Okay. I remember learning to drive, and my family only had manual, I guess, gears. So you had to learn how to use the clutch.
Yep.
And it's hard to do because you have to get the sequence of your feet right. And I remember the first time I was on a hill.
Even more
an
fun.
Uphill. And it's just, you just have to go through it. And the comfort zone, one, it's getting used to, you've got to let the clutch out and give it the right amount of gas. And if you do it wrong, it stalls or it jerks.
Or you roll backwards.
Right. And I'm explaining this to people because many people have not had this experience. In fact, I had a brother-in-law who was a police officer and didn't know how to drive a manual shift car, which was a problem for him. He had a discomfort because when he would get to car crash scenes, when it was early in his career, there'd be manual shift cars and he couldn't move them out of the way. He had to get someone else to do it. But on that hill, you're thinking, if I do this wrong, I'm going to mess up. Now, I haven't driven a manual shift car in probably 15 years. I think I could still do it, but I would not be comfortable on a hill. I'd like to practice on something flat first, but if I were put in a hill situation, I could probably fake my way through it. But I think of that as that was so overwhelming to me as a 16-year-old.
Sure.
Getting that rhythm down and getting it. And then once I figured it out, I drove manual shift cars for years. Never even, it just was something you did.
Right.
And I think that's a great example to me of our comfort zone. And Kurt gives another example. First of all, he says totally could. So I think he could drive a manual car because he's that kind of guy. And second, like riding a bike. And imagine, do you remember when you learned how to ride a bike? How hard it was to get that balance down?
Not really.
I do. And learning to swim. I was telling someone that I was 10 when I finally could swim after 6 or 7 years of lessons. But all these things that take us outside our comfort zone, and then we overcome them. And if you said to me, let's go swimming, if the weather was nice, sure, let's go swimming. I don't even think about it anymore. And I think that's the thing that we have that comfort zone that this is where we are today. I don't know how to swim. Then I learned to swim and the comfort zone expands. But then there becomes a new challenge within that comfort zone, right? Now you got to learn how to dive because all your friends are diving off the diving board. You're scared to get up on the diving board. Can't tip your head over the right way and your feet are the wrong way. And then you figure out how to dive.
Or you choose not to.
Or you choose, right, or you choose not to. And then your friends say, oh, we're going to go up on the big hill at the reservoir and dive. And you're a kid and you're scared because you think there might be a big rock and you'll hit your head and die because you've heard examples of that. And so you don't do that. And we're constantly, I think there's that constant tug of war about what our comfort zone is. And what's really, to me, it's not so much the comfort zone as much as what safety feels like. And how much of today can I feel safe? You know, do I feel safe right now in this discussion? Not on a bet. Not even close. We've gone way outside my comfort zone with this discussion. And it also affects other discussions that I'll have today.
Well, and I think the opportunity is there to say, okay, what have I learned from, being outside of my comfort zone, or choosing not to? You could be like, okay, well, I'm not going to have this conversation because it's not in my comfort zone and I'm going to avoid that. Okay.
Right.
And then you have to also throw in, well, what opportunities have I missed potentially by staying with what I know and what I'm comfortable and safe with?
Yeah. And it's you look at people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, as some of the, the canon of those entrepreneurs, or Ben Franklin, or,
Ben Franklin, look at you.
Well, I'm trying, I always worry that we have only current examples. When I was teaching college, we'd talk about entrepreneurs. It was always Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. And it's like, Eli Whitney and the cotton gin, and, all these Einstein and, all these great people through history. And I tried not to just let it be like the 2 or 3 now. And I think the biggest thing with all of them is they got outside of their comfort zone. The Wright brothers, I think it was 41 tries before they were able to fly at Kitty Hawk. And they were bicycle guys that had this vision, and they were able to make it work because they went outside their comfort zone. Because riding a bike and flying in the air are very different things. But I think that, and it's interesting to me, there was 2 brothers. So I bet there were days where someone's like, dude, this is real. I am uncomfortable with this thing. And then the other one's like, yeah, all right, come on, let's go. Let's do it. I think that's how a lot of things happen. It's someone there to help us feel comfort as we're getting uncomfortable. That's one of the things you've brought to me over the last couple of years is I talk to you. It's really why we started late today was I was talking about some discomfort I have. And I think that's one of the things when I think about what's my comfort zone, I don't know that I'm the best person to describe what my comfort zone is. I think you would actually be better at describing my comfort zone because you know where the friction points are. I don't know that I always see the friction points. I think we are so in that box, you can't see outside the box. Kelly says, what I'm hearing is courage over comfort is a message because awards can be bigger than imagined. As I get ready for the week, this will be my motto to lean into. Thank you. Well, I like that. Courage over comfort.
I think one of the things about it is I think the challenge is because I think Kelly, you went with the way that I'm happy that you shared is the rewards can be bigger than imagined. I think many people look at it the other way is the risk might be more than I'm willing to take. And that holds them back from stepping outside of it. And I think when you only focus on risk and reward, you miss the opportunity to actually learn.
And to see how far you've come, because you and I were talking before the program about something with me, and we got to a place like, well, what did you learn?
Correct.
I learned a lot about myself in what makes me happy, what's important to me, in a way that had I not been uncomfortable. And there was also a pronouncement I made to you. I know you caught it. That was very definitive in that discussion that I heard myself say and go, whoa. That very big lesson learned in there that I don't think I would have learned if it was just, I'm doing the Bob thing.
Correct. I mean, and really the Bob thing is your comfort zone. That's what's
Correct.
Real for you.
And the Tom thing is the Tom comfort zone.
Sure.
Right.
And I think that's the challenge we have is that if we only stay there, we miss the opportunity to learn. Yes.
Or if we try so hard to stay there, fight the things that are coming at us. 9/11 being an example, you had to deal with it. It hit us all in the face. there are things today that each of us could face that could hit us in the face and we could adapt to if we choose, or we can pull away.
Correct.
So I'm going to make a really big statement here. I'm going to track all the things today outside my comfort zone that I confront. And tomorrow on the program, I'm going to tell you what they are.
Okay.
I would challenge people to do that because I think we're outside of our comfort zone more than we realize. And we always talk about these big things outside our comfort zone.
Yes, because we think we control everything. So that makes it easiest to say, well, I'm not going to deal with that because I'm going to stay in my comfort zone. That's outside of it. Yet so often all the external forces put us into that position. Someone asks us a question. Someone does something to us, for us. It has the opportunity for us to then sort of learn from what happened. And maybe then our comfort zone expands.
Michael's with us this morning. Hey, Michael, I'd say my comfort zone is like answering why is the sky blue or what is the meaning of life. Topics can vary for comfort zones based upon pressure points. I like that because yes, you could have a day where you're dealing with your children and an issue comes up that's outside your comfort zone. You could be in a relationship and there could be something outside your comfort zone. It could be work. It could be, Starbucks doesn't have your flavor of coffee. And so you have to try a different coffee. Well, but think about it. If you're that person that your mocha java, whatever thing is the thing that gets you through the day and that gives you strength.
Yeah.
I can face the day because I have my cup of coffee. But now or the Starbucks is closing. You got to go to Dunkin' Donuts and their coffee's different. Those are things that I think are outside our comfort zone sometimes. I don't think it's the huge things all the time. I think it's very little things. I eat oatmeal almost every morning. On the mornings I don't eat oatmeal, I'm like, this is just not comfortable.
Sort of goes back to my rationale for why adjectives aren't really helpful, because they're just judgments. If they're all just things, we don't place the same value on them. As you said, you define them as big things or little things. They're just things.
Right.
That we have.
Although we make them big or little.
Correct.
I have a big presentation today. I have this little meeting today I have to run. We say that all the time.
And I think it changes where we're at in our comfort, whether we feel like we're in our comfort zone or we've maybe moved outside of it, or we've believed that the results are going to have a more significant impact than they might.
Is that your one thing?
No.
What's your one thing?
Well, because we're talking about I think with the subject of the comfort zone, what's yours? I think it's helpful. This is my one thing to try to understand where your comfort zone is, so that you can see where it holds you back and where it helps move you forward. Because I think it can do both. As we'll talk about, I think there's, and as I mentioned, there's some value in staying in your comfort zone. Because those are the things that you have experience and knowledge around, and that you can continue doing them, and a little bit about what might happen when you do those things. So you have more control. And at the same time, I think that sometimes keeps us from learning. So having an understanding of where our comfort zone is can help us then decide, okay, this might be outside of my comfort zone, and it might be something that's worthwhile exploring, doing something different, because this maybe is one of the reasons why I've maybe been held back on some things.
Kurt's got a couple more comments. Some personalities like being comfortable and complacent. Others like to continually learn and improve. No comment.
Yes.
I'm still on this podcast listening despite me wanting to leave and call Aptive for you.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point too.
What's happening?
I have to believe it has something to do with pest control.
Okay, maybe it didn't come over. That's funny. So Kurt's comfort zone. Your crickets are outside Kurt's comfort zone.
There's no doubt about that. They're almost outside of mine.
And I think that's really great example, right? Because to me, it's just part of luck. Kurt says yes. And that's the funny thing to me about this whole comfort zone discussion. That doesn't even bother me. It's like you came on this morning, they were really loud. It's like, okay, it's cricket time of year. We're going to go through this again.
Because you've been
and I
through
should say, we didn't deal with the issue that I was going to deal with that I said in the introduction. So Tom has been putting off buying a computer for how long? 3 years?
No, not 3 years.
At least 2.
Maybe 2.
Maybe.
I
So he
really put it off for probably a month.
He finally got a new computer, and he said to me before the program, it's really nice when your computer can download stuff really quickly or upload really quickly, because he's been fighting his computer for months. So he got out of his comfort zone, finally got a new computer, and now your comfort zone is expanded, right?
Correct.
And I think it's a great example of what we're talking about. So I would challenge everyone today, look at the things that are outside your comfort zone. Keep a list, because I think what I'm going to find at the end of the day is there are far more things outside of my comfort zone that I confront than I realize. Because I can already think of 5 or 6, and I've only been up for 2 hours.
And I wonder if you think that will help. Do you believe that will help you do other things outside of your comfort zone? Because really, that's happening to you all the time, and you've addressed it.
That is what I'm hoping tomorrow morning to prove to myself and hopefully to others. And I also think Kelly says you get to use the cricket noise, LOL. One day, Tom, please share the coffee story. Yeah, you started this, but not today.
Okay, I won't share it today.
We'll hold on to it. Well, thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thank you, Kelly, Kurt, Michael. Appreciate your comments. Really appreciate you being here and contributing. It really makes it much more of a thought-provoking discussion for us. So thank you for taking the time. I'm always marveling at people who can type while they're listening and do it in real time, because that's a gift.
Yeah, usually I'm in the middle and I have a new thought. I'll based on something that's said, and I'm like, okay, can I still share this? Well, it's like texting.
Yes.
You send a text, and while you're thinking about what to send, they respond with another text, and you're like, okay, do I respond to the first one or the second one? Or
so this is really going to probably change my life, but I have a really bad habit of starting to type a text in response to something, and then something else comes, and I will delete the text or cut the text so that I can put it in later when it's appropriate to move to whatever topic or do whatever. And then I forget that I had it. But the next day or two later, I thought that I had that part of the discussion because, of course, I typed that text. This has happened to me many, many times, thus creating a uncomfortable zone.
So what have you learned from that? Just send it.
Yes, that's a good, thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much again for being with us. We appreciate your comments and your thoughts and your ideas. If you happen to be listening to our podcast, or you come back later and are watching this later on social media, where, yes, you can still share and it might not have the same impact as you'd like because we can't share it on the show, please feel free to join us inside of our Facebook group. Sculpt your business from chaos and confusion to confidence and control, where we can help you, or at least provide you with a space to share those thoughts and ideas that will have value to someone else. And at the same time, while you're in there, you can find from others the value that they have shared that will hopefully help you figure out how to take maybe the next step outside of your comfort zone, or that maybe keeps you in your comfort zone so that you're doing the things that you're really good at, rather than maybe taking time out to go in a new direction, to follow a new shiny object.
Or
Either
just
way.
taking steps and not even thinking about whether they're in or out of your comfort zone. Just
Correct.
defining the steps and taking the steps.
Yes. And I hope that you will try to think today a little bit about what is your comfort zone so that you have an understanding of where it might be holding you back and where it might be adding value, that you could do more. Sometimes we may identify things in our comfort zone that we're like, I never realized how comfortable I was. Maybe I need to do more of that. Either way, we look forward to seeing you inside our Facebook group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
Hey, whether you're inside your comfort zone or outside your comfort zone, doesn't matter. The goal should be to embrace the renegading you. You're a renegade. You know you are. You know what that means. Embrace it. You'll thank yourself at the end of the day, and you'll do things you didn't think you could do inside or outside your comfort zone.
All right, everyone, go out and enjoy your day. We will see you soon.
Hey, we've been talking about your comfort zone, and it's time to really think about, are you ready to do the things you say you want to do? Are you ready to get real? That's an acronym, so there's some words around that we can talk to you about. Get results and make more money. Those aren't just words. We really believe that. That's something Tom and I have been helping leaders and small business owners do for the last couple of years. We want to help you identify what's holding you back. It could be something in your comfort zone. It could be something outside your comfort zone. But identifying it and figuring out the steps to take to move past whatever's standing in your way, that's the name of the game, and that's what we want to help you figure out. So talk to Tom, talk to Bob, or go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. It's easier than you think, and we want to help you do it.